Warning, 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 warning. 3, 2, 1. The FantasyFootballTips.co podcast with Mills and Quilgiano.
Hi, you're listening to FantasyFootballTips.co, the podcast in association with Premier Punt, the home of daily fantasy football betting. It's game week 36, and I'm joined on a Skype call by JP. Hello, JP.
Good evening.
How are you?
I'm very well. I'm not used to being introduced first, but I'm good.
Okay, I mean, there's a chasm in the podcast, isn't there?
There is. We need to unearth it, I think.
We do. I mean, this went out on Twitter, I think, a week ago. There was a tweet sent out on the FPL_the source saying that Quilgiano was no more in the podcast. He's out. He's very upset about a few things.
Yeah, he is. I mean, talks are ongoing to try and resolve the situation, but as of yet, it has not been fully resolved. Hopefully, in due course, that will come about. What are your thoughts, Millsy?
Well, unfortunately, it does revolve very much so around me. But I'd like to just keep that on the back burner for now, because I'm just conscious of the fact that the people are tuning in to listen to the tips. If they want to hear what we've got to say on that matter, then we'll discuss that a little bit later on.
Okay.
But we will obviously be talking about that. And JP, I think we've only ever done a podcast once without Quilgiano before. And I think you tipped a player that was injured for that week. So.
Yeah.
Pressure on.
It went worse than that, actually. I tipped a player that wasn't playing and injured. So basically, I did a shocking job. Let's hope it's not going to happen again.
Absolutely, and we've not been on since game week 34. So I think obviously with the double game week, it was quite a busy week last week, wasn't it? And then with the Quilgiano fiasco. So good couple of weeks for yourself.
No, absolutely terrible for me, actually. Really bad. Very poor choices when it came to the double game week, I felt. My triple captain choice was diabolical. I went for Mesut Ozil and got me a grand whopping 6 points triple, so not very good at all. I think I overplayed the fact that it was a double game week. So there was a couple of players I put in simply because they had 2 games and didn't look at form. So, for example, Ross Barkley went straight in, had 2 absolute shockers. So, yeah, not good for me. It's a good learning curve, actually, for me, that one, because I think, like other players, I imagine that some probably dived in a little bit too deep into that double game week theory and didn't prepare for the following week as well. So, no, a very bad double game week. Recovered quite well in the second week after, but no, not particularly good for myself.
Okay, yeah, I think sort of the game week before we had the Everton double game week, didn't we? So that they had the 4 games in two weeks, and I know that got a lot of people stung. I mean, I had a good double game week with a captain choice of Alexis Sanchez. More than happy with the return there. Again, triple captain.
You're being modest, Millsy. You had an unbelievable double game week.
I did. I think I had something like 187 points or something like that. So
unbelievable.
So, yeah, it was a fantastic return for me.
And how does it feel to know, even after such a good week, you still might not win a manager of the month?
Well, I mean, it is me and Quilgiano locked at the top. Exactly the same amount of points going into the last week of the month. So this friendship, it could end this week.
It's bad timing for it to be this tight between you two. What I'm saying is I might be standing in between you two more often.
Okay,
I'm concerned.
Absolutely. So we've got plenty coming up on the show today. We're going to be talking captain tips from myself and from you, JP. That'll be in podcast extra. That'll be our private kind of captain picks for the week. We've obviously got the normal tips in terms of the Gary and the long shot, which we'll be talking about in a minute. We've got questions from the fans, and obviously we've got Quilgiano Gate that we have to discuss. It does involve FPL. It is not something personal that I'm just airing my dirty linen
on
a podcast. It's all FPL related.
It's completely FPL.
For now, yeah. So let's move on then, JP. I'm very intrigued. I know you've done your research. You've been working hard all week on this. You've known that Quilgiano was not going to appear on the podcast this week.
Yeah.
So, let's go straight in with your Gary.
Fantastic. Well, my Gary is a fairly obvious choice. I think if you've got this player in your team, you will captain him. That is Alexis Sanchez. Like you say, Millsy, in unbelievable form, scored you absolutely loads of points. He's playing very, very well. They've got Norwich at Arsenal. That could be a cricket score. And if it is, we all know that Alexis Sanchez is going to be on the scoring sheet. I will also mention very quickly that next week they've got Man City, but the week after they've got Aston Villa at home, which is going to be even greater a cricket score. It's going to be horrendous. So Sanchez is possibly quite a long-term captain for me, so he's the Gary of the week.
I like that a lot. I've said many times, and I've written it a lot of times recently, that I think in terms of Arsenal players, Sanchez is the one that is going to finish the season the strongest in terms of those attacking players. Obviously, comes at a premium, but, you know...
Worth it.
And again, like you said, I think you said you triple captained Ozil, did you?
Triple captained Mesut Ozil, which was a shocking decision. If I'd done it before Christmas, it probably would have been a good decision. But
yeah, absolutely. And it's all about timing, isn't it? And the way, the form of the players at the time. So I absolutely agree with that. I really like that one. Let's go on to the Xabi Alonso, the long shot. The long shot,
right, okay. Well, I ummed and ahed about this one a little bit, Millsy, but I've come up with one theory. I've come up with Jermaine Defoe. Now... they're playing. The reason I say that is obviously, I mean, they're battling for their lives, so every game is like a cup final to them. On top of that, they're playing Stoke.
Yeah.
Now, recently, Stoke have been diabolical. Now, I've really exaggerated that word because
I like that. Could you do that again, just for the listeners? I like
diabolical.
That. Wow.
They really have 4-0 defeat to Man City. Okay, it's at Man City, but still a bad result. You know, they got absolutely thumped there, and I believe they got beat 4-0 the week before by Spurs.
Yeah, they did. Yeah.
So they've conceded 8 goals in 2 games. It's Jermaine Defoe. He's a goal scorer. I'm going to say him.
Yeah, and the week before that, they conceded 4 goals again to Liverpool. So that's 12 goals in 3 games.
Goals.
I know they've had the defensive issues with injuries and things like that, but Butland as well, obviously, is a massive gap for them. But they don't seem to have an answer in that goalkeeper department. Obviously, they've got the young guy that came in and then replaced him and shot his confidence by putting in a completely unfit Shay Given, who just turned 40.
Who looks horrendous,
and then he went off at Man City for the young guy to come back in. So it's all over the place, and I agree with that. I think that's a good shout. I think Sunderland will win that game. I don't necessarily think, it's not going to be one of those where Defoe's going to come in and score a hat-trick, probably.
No.
But I think it's a really good long shot. And I think in a week, and certainly with 3 weeks to go, people are looking for those differentials. And with injuries that are coming in, perhaps, at the moment, I think it's a good long shot. I like that, JP. I like that a lot. I know the last time we did the podcast with yourself, we came onto the Delia, and then there was a very long pause. Because you completely forgot that was a feature. So tell me you've got a Delia this week.
I've gone better than that, Millsy. I've got 3 Delias.
Wow.
I've got 3.
It's never been done. This is breaking new ground on the podcast.
I am. It's probably a bit naughty of me, but I feel they deserve it after my absolute cock-up last time.
I feel this is personal for you.
This is personal, yeah. So I'm going to do it in descending order of the biggest Delia. Sorry, the smallest to the largest Delia. Okay. So my first Delia is Mesut Ozil. He is, he's been such a high scorer for so long, and recently he's scored absolutely nothing, like week in, week out. The most points he's getting is like a 1 point for a clean sheet. He's getting no assists. He's actually destroyed my season. I'd go that far, because I had so much faith in him for the rest of the season, and now he's just gone dry.
Okay, I like that. I mean, just on your season, I think I've clawed you back, haven't I?
You have. We're actually exactly level, Millsy.
Overall, for the overall season.
Yes.
That's
incredible. Well, I've already won a manager of the month, so...
Okay, don't rub it in. Mine's coming.
Well, we'll see.
Okay, and your second one, then?
My second one is Lukaku. I think that's quite an obvious one. Where's he gone? This is the classic Delia. Let's be having you. You've scored no goals, you've looked rubbish, you've missed penalties. 10 games ago we were saying, you're amazing, you're strong, you're powerful. He's not got it any... Well, where's it gone?
Where has it gone? And we'll talk more on Lukaku later, because the fixtures over the next couple of weeks are looking very tasty for him. And I just wonder how many people might have the balls just to stick their neck back out on the line for him, because he hasn't gone this long in the league without a goal before this season. So we'll discuss that later. But I'd like that. So, and your final one. So this has got to be massive, surely.
Third and final, Millsy. It's enormous.
Are we still talking about...
He considers himself... We are still talking about fantasy football, I promise you. Well, trust me, we are, yeah. I'm gonna mention a quote. He considers himself a god among men. Where are you, Quilgiano?
Wow.
Let's be having you back. You know, many times in the past he spoke about me nestling under that wing. Well, you know, I've got wings and I'm flying. But I want to be flying with Quilgiano. I want to make a flock, Mills.
Again, just that last word?
A flock.
Okay, sorry, I misheard that.
A flock. No, a flock, yes.
Brilliant. I mean, that was pure poetry. Pure poetry. And if that man who calls himself a god has any kind of emotion within him, he's got to be moved by that.
I appreciate you saying that, Millsy. And listen, the fans, they want Quilgiano. Let's be having the fans. Give us some messages. Give us your thoughts. Do you want Quigley back?
Do you want him back? I mean, I'm slightly concerned as to the response and what the potential response could be. I know certainly the chief of the Californian branch of the Quilgiano Appreciation Society, I think, is it Matt Smith? I think he will certainly be running a campaign for him. So is this maybe, before we do side tips, is this a time to discuss?
I think so.
Okay.
I think so.
So, I mean, JP, I don't want to lead this. You're impartial, so I don't want to be seen to be kind of, you know, pushing this too far. So I'm just going to respond to questions.
Okay. So, first of all, Millsy, did you have a discussion with Quilgiano about FPL prior to the game week on Saturday?
We're talking about not the game week that's just been played. We're talking about game week 34, which was the big double game week. Yeah, so we had a conversation. We quite often have a mentor-mentee discussion, and that was it. Yeah. Right,
now, this is what I believe has happened, but I'll ask questions. So, did Quilgiano ask you about the thoughts of putting in Milner and Daniel Sturridge?
Yes, he did.
Right, so that was his suggestion, potentially.
That was a suggestion.
The alternative was, correct me if I'm wrong, Martial and Coutinho.
Absolutely. That they were the two options, yeah.
Right, okay. Which option did you suggest you pick?
I went for the honest option, which I thought, for that week, Martial... who, don't forget, Quilgiano was on this podcast that week and bigged him up beyond belief. And Milner, I thought, and Coutinho, I thought was the best option. I thought Coutinho was nailed on to start and to perform well. And again, I thought Martial the same. I'll just go one step further there, JP, just to speed this process up slightly. What upset Quilgiano was the fact that the Sturridge option, I obviously didn't push him towards, but what I didn't do was tell him that I'd got Sturridge in my team. I'd put him in for that week. I'd dropped Lukaku for Daniel Sturridge. And then, obviously, when he saw my team reveal, it had got Daniel Sturridge in there. And he had gone for Martial and Coutinho. He was a bit upset about this. He was even more upset when Coutinho and Martial didn't start, and then he was even more upset when Daniel Sturridge started banging in the goals. And I think James Milner got a couple of assists as well. It was, I mean, to be fair to the great god Quilgiano, he would have won this month had he gone for that option. However, in my heart of hearts, I did give him the best advice that I thought was applicable at the time. And I think he would have done that anyway. So, a minor indiscretion on my part, but I think, Quilgiano, it's time to, find your wings again and fly on back to us.
Right, I'm going to very quickly, two last very short points, okay? So I think the crowning turd in the waterworks was really when you told your opinion and then you did go against your opinion almost by going for Sturridge. I think that's fair to say. Is it not?
Yes.
Okay. And my final question for you. Is that worthy of an apology, Millsy?
Well, I mean, that's a big ask.
It's a big big ask. I'm not saying it is. I'm questioning you. Do you feel that it is?
Or, I mean, what I'll say on the matter is, internal discussions have been had, and let's be honest, I've apologised if I did cause him offence on a personal note. And let me just also make it quite clear, we have not fallen out over this in terms of friendship. I think Quilgiano wants to make a stand. But it would certainly be interesting to me to see the fans' reaction and maybe get some stuff on Twitter. What you think? Are you Team Mills or are you Team Quilgiano? Has he gone too far? Just a simple hashtag Team Mills and a hashtag Team Quilgiano, one way or the other, would be nice just to kind of get a bit of opinion on that. I'm just conscious of the fact that Quilgiano has not put his side of the story across here. But he was invited on to do so that was his own prerogative.
He was, yeah.
But I will say on air, I do apologise to Quilgiano if I caused you offence or if it caused mistrust in our relationship, because that was certainly not my intention.
Wow, that's big.
And we're going to be back after that bombshell with side tips after this short break.
You are listening to Mills and Quilgiano on the FantasyFootballTips.co podcast. Sponsored by Premier Punt. All your fantasy Premier League tips in one juicy little podcast. Get in touch at www.fantasyfootballtips.co.
So, JP, I mean, I'll be interested to see how the fans respond to that. But, I mean, they might have switched off. I also think, if you go back about 3 minutes, I think you might have said something along the lines of a turd in the waterworks. I
did, yeah. I'm quoting Blackadder there. Yeah, like that term.
Yeah, I like that a lot. I'm not such a Blackadder fan, so I've not seen that. But anyway, side tips, JP. Let's not forget those.
Yeah, let's do it. Right, so I'm going to fire in nice and quickly. First one is a guy who hasn't scored very much recently. It's Igalo. The reason I say it is because they're playing Aston Villa, who are horrendous. So you just never know. He could easily get a few goals against them.
Yeah.
My next side tip is Sigurdsson at Swansea. Yes, Swansea look quite bad, but he seems to be their like light in shining armour. He's like the one that kind of stands out. They're playing Liverpool, who tough game, but at the same time concede goals. So I thought I'd throw him in there. I'm going to go West Ham players. Again, they've had a very good season. They're playing against West Brom, who again look rubbish. We've got Antonio, we've got Payet, we've got Andy Carroll. You just never know. Tell me that Andy Carroll is not injured.
I don't believe so.
Good, because it would break my heart if he was. And finally, I'm going to go to Liverpool. I think there's going to be some goals in that Swansea-Liverpool game. I've got a feeling. So I'm going to go with Milner. Like you said, 2 assists recently. Looks good, which is surprising to say about Milner. Firmino, Coutinho, again. And then, is Daniel Sturridge a side tip, or is that a little bit too obvious? I don't know, but I'm going to say him anyway. So I've rattled through those pretty quick, Millsy, but if you've got any to add, please go for it.
No, I mean, probably no players to add in there other than I go back to Lukaku.
Ooh, yeah.
And I look at Everton at home to Bournemouth.
Yeah.
Now, Bournemouth, they're safe. They're very, very happy.
Yeah.
Everton are also safe. However, Bournemouth are very happy with how Eddie Howe has got on there this season. Everton, the fans are really turning on Roberto Martinez, and I think that he needs a result. I think if this season ends without another victory, I think that is definitely it for him.
I would agree with that, yeah. I think that's a potential shout. I just think, have you got the bravery, or is there someone that you're willing to take out for Lukaku? That's the only question.
Well, I'll come on to that in a second as well, because it's in my head, and I'll say it on here, because I know Quilgiano will be listening, and I know he will want to know what I'm doing with my team this week. So I'm more than happy to sort of suggest what I'm thinking, although no action has been taken yet. So Everton, they play Bournemouth this week, and then they have the double game week next week. They are both away, one to Leicester, and they may have won the league by then, and then one to Sunderland. They're not easy games at all.
No.
But I just think if they could get a result this week, he's an interesting prospect. Now, the player that I would, out of my team anyway, that I would take out would be Harry Kane, which is very, very controversial.
Wow. Do you know what? I'm excited to see your reasoning to that.
And I'll tell you why, because Spurs, by the time they play on Monday night, when they're playing Monday Night Football again, they're playing Chelsea away from home, Leicester may already have wrapped up the title.
Yeah.
If Leicester have wrapped up the title, then Spurs are going to be demoralised. I think they're already going to be feeling like that anyway, based on the result on Monday against West Brom, when they threw away 2 points, in my opinion. And I just think Chelsea might be coming good at a time when Spurs, the pressure is on, the heat is on, and have they got the mental toughness to see this through? And if Leicester beat Man United, which they could well do, I don't think you'll see a Spurs victory.
Wow. Do you know what? That's intelligent work then, Millsy. I know I'm brown-nosing you a little bit there, but you reminded me of a bit like Sherlock Holmes there. Very much like an investigation into the next few weeks. I like that. Yeah, I mean, I'd still say it's a brave shout.
It's a risk. It's massively a risk.
Massive risk. But if you are looking to overtake someone who's got similar players to you, you might have to do it.
Yeah, I mean, the one benefit that I've got for my own personal team this week is that I didn't make a transfer for last week, and I don't think there were many people that didn't do that, because I'd really planned for the double game week and then the blank game week that followed. So I had 2 free transfers. Well, I've got 2 free transfers for this week. So yeah, and I think we've got to mention Dele Alli, who
we've got to mention
he's been charged. It hasn't been made official yet in terms of the ban. I think the team of referees are still looking at that, but he's gonna get a 3-game ban.
Yeah, get him out. No brainer for me. He's got to go. I haven't actually got him anymore. I got rid of him the week before. I got rid of him after the Stoke game, but I'd get rid of him now, definitely. Definitely.
Okay.
He's got to go.
So, and then perhaps some of those West Ham players that you mentioned might be a good alternative. Okay, so we're going to move on, JP, and I've got some questions from Twitter for you.
Love that.
And in fact, I've got 2 from Braga. I think he's at Angerel Pierce. And his first question, he says he's wildcarding this week.
Ooh.
In preparation for the double game week 37. Who would be your top 3 forward picks? He was thinking Martial, Rashford and Andy Carroll. I mean, what a front 3 that would be.
That's insane. I mean, the only thing I'd say is, do you want to go with 2 United strikers?
Yeah,
that is
very,
very risky. Yeah. I wouldn't do that personally. Between the 2 of them, it's really tough. I suppose it's dependent on how much money you've got, because if you're struggling for cash, you go Rashford because he's so cheap. United in that double game week, he's right to think about United because they've got Norwich again. There's goals there, and then they've got West Ham's not an easy game. Between the 2, it's a tough one, Millsy, but I'd probably go towards Martial actually, just if I've got the money.
And then Andy Carroll, would you?
I like the Andy Carroll shout. I said that in one of my side tips. I think he's a risk because he's one of those players. He's not a consistent player. But, when he does well, I mean, he scored a hat-trick against Arsenal, didn't he?
Yeah.
And now he's playing, he's got West Brom. Again, that's a game that he can score goals in. Playing Swansea, Man United at home. So Swansea and West Brom, 2 of 3 games, I'd expect him if he's starting to score goals. So I like those 2. And then, if we go with your logic, we could argue Lukaku is his 3rd choice striker.
Absolutely, we could, yeah. We could. I think that's a good one. And then he goes on for a second question. He's getting 2 for the price of 1 here. He's saying he likes Sturridge, but he might be rotated, and he's not sure whether to take the risk on Daniel Sturridge. He's also thinking of a triple captain for Martial. And he thought, wow. I mean, I'm amazed. There's 3 game weeks left and he's got all these chips left. I mean, that's incredible.
That is insane.
I mean, obviously he can't use both. He can't use the wild card and the triple captain. But so if he wasn't going wild card, because I know a lot of people are looking at triple captain for game week 37.
Yeah.
And I know it's a little bit early and we will discuss this next week, but what would your initial thoughts be on a triple captain for game week 37? Where would you be looking?
Right, so obviously, again, with the triple captain, you want to look at a team that's got 2 matches, because not every team plays twice, do they?
No.
I'm wrong on that. So you've got to look for a team that's playing twice. Martial is an exciting thought. Don't get me wrong. You've got, again, like I say, the Norwich game. He could easily score a couple of goals in that. And I suppose, Millsy, I've really backed you tonight. You could argue Lukaku if you think that he's going to do well. But it's whether he's got that player in his team. I think of the 3 that he's mentioned, I would personally go with Martial as a triple captain. I personally wouldn't play it on Martial, but of those 3 options, I'd go him.
Okay, and then I'm just going to throw this one in there. Dimitri Payet.
Yeah, very possibly. Again, we spoke about the fixtures. West Ham playing 2 home games, Swansea and Man United. He's class, isn't he? He's really good. So Yeah, if you've got Payet in your squad, of those two, I'll finish on this, Millsy. If I had those two players, Martial or Payet, I'd go Payet personally.
Okay, like that. I like the decisiveness of that answer, JP. We're going to get one last question before we go into podcast extra, and this is from everybody's favourite golf pro, Andy Goodland.
Legend, yeah.
You know, he's been in touch many times, and I know he listens to the show every week, so hello, Andy. And he's asking, hang on, sorry, my Twitter's just messed up. He's asking, looking for a cheap double game week midfielder to replace Ali, and he's asking Mark Noble or Antonio. They're the two that he has selected. So out of the two of those, which ones would you look at? And is there possibly anyone else? I'm just going to throw Aaron Lennon into that shout as well, just to make you think.
Okay, well, it's interesting that he gave those two options, because before you even said that, I was going to say Antonio straight away. Before you even said the two options, Antonio. He's cheap, 2 home games, very, very dangerous player down the wing. For me, I'd say he's much more of a better option than Noble, personally. I know Noble recently scored a couple of goals in that Norwich game, but that is unusual for him to do that. I'd go Antonio.
Okay. Again, great answer. JP, I think you've done a sterling job. I mean, do we need Quilgiano back?
Well, let the fans decide, I suppose. Thank you, Millsy, for your compliments there. You know, I've enjoyed it tonight. I feel like I've prepared well. I've learned, but what I will say, Millsy, I will finish. I've learned a lot from Quilgiano. I will say that. I'll just finish on that. That's all I'll say.
Okay, yeah, absolutely. And let's look, we're putting it out there. This is not a closed door. The door is always open to a man such as Quilgiano. And the fan, I think we're going to establish that the fans want him. Remember, get that out there. # Team Mills or # Team Quilgiano. Don't just go Team Mills because you can't spell Quilgiano. Look it up. It's not that difficult. You know, and I won't be offended if you go Quilgiano. I know, you know, I'm the straight playing host, so, you know, that's... Right, JP, we are going to be back very shortly. We're going to be going in with the podcast extra right after this. I mean, just a quick word to those people that are maybe the cheapies. How valuable is this podcast extra? Is it worth £12 each year? You know, people might have thought I was going to say month. £12 a year to get another 10 minutes a week of JP and Mills and Quilgiano usually.
It's so worth it. It's not even funny, Mills. It's absolutely essential. Like, you get captain choices from several different experts. You get an additional today, Mills. I'm going to add in a few injury alerts that people might not know about. So I'm even adding in a few little, you know, be careful moments there as well.
Where are you getting this information from?
It's all in the media, Millsy. It's online.
So just go there. Don't bother with paying £12 a year. Just get online.
Well, you could do that, yeah. Or you could listen to my voice for a little bit longer. It's up to you. And
there is a reason why we call you The Voice. So
yes.
So we'll be back straight after this with Podcast Extra. If you are a cheapie, we will see you next week. Thank you very much.
Warning. 3, 2, 1. The FantasyFootballTips.co podcast with Mills and Quilgiano.